Hey, I hope everybody's having a good day. Just want to have a needed discussion about. I get a lot of questions, and getting a lot of questions about a lot of curiosity about being a black man here in California, in San Francisco Bay Area, which is supposedly supposed to be one of the most liberal areas of the United States. Of course, San Francisco. You probably heard about all the bad things there as far as the crime, the homelessness, the far left liberal movements that actually start in San Francisco and sort of make their way across the United States. And it's far left liberal area, Oakland, a lot of black people, a lot of liberals, a lot of black Democrats. And of course Berkeley, which is down just a couple, which is closer to me than San Francisco is. Just a few miles down the road there is Berkeley, which is a very liberal city. And so a lot of people wonder, okay, how can you be a black guy, especially from this part of town, and not support the Democrat Party or not be a Democrat? Well, the first thing is I've always been independent. As far as when I was growing up, I was raised with with seven. Well, I have five brothers, four other brothers, and two sisters. Raised up in it was a Black Panthers. It still exists today. Black Panthers headquarters building out in Oakland. Which was purchased, which was the church that was raised in. Grandfather's church was a former Black Panthers headquarters, a place where there's lots of black activity, black engagement, involvement in the community. I was brought up inside of this environment of black culture, you would say. However, growing up, we were not taught racism. We were not, my grandfather and those who preceded me were businessmen. They were people who didn't make excuses, but they didn't spread racism and hatred to us. As far as I never heard anything racist come from my grandfather, or my step grandfather, but they were businessmen. And so, and before them, going back to my great grandfather, who came from Mississippi, as my grandma's from Yazoo City, Mississippi, they were all independent. He didn't work for anybody. He bought so many acres of land. He was a sharecropper, had his own land, had all 12 of his children working for him. And so, yeah, I guess I had that blood inside of me, which a lot of African American people, descendants, their grandfathers and their great grandfathers, a lot of them did some similar things. But somewhere along the way, the black people, as far as the descendants, every generation, for some reason, some kind of way, got further and further away from that independent, no excuses, not blaming racism, not blaming someone else for their condition and taking responsibility for their condition. So that's been my mindset. However, I did get caught up with the Democrat emotional, roller coaster high that the media sort of puts you in when Obama, became the president. My grandma also was a lifelong Democrat. Well, not lifelong, I'll say. She was a Democrat from when I was growing up. I remember her having the Clinton Gore stickers when President Bill Clinton was. And I want to kind of show how this shift from the Republican Party, from blacks who were Republicans first, because Republicans were the ones who fought to abolish slavery, of course. They were also the ones giving black people all the opportunities in politics. The first politicians, senators, they were all Republicans because the Republican Party was the only one opening the door for those places. The Republican Party gave an open door for the runaway slaves or previous slaves to have independence and have a certain amount of freedom in the northern states. They also, Republican Party, were the party of the free blacks. So if you was a free black living in slave time, you lived in the Republican North, and you were if you were affiliated with any party, it would have been a Republican Party. It was the blacks who also fought to abolish slavery in, of course, the wars. And so somewhere along the way, there was a shift. But, fast forward to today, they say 85% of black people will vote Democrat. So how did we get to this shift, and how did I get to being a Republican in such a far left-leaning, left liberal influence area? It was really when I really started reading books. They say if you want to hide something from a black person, you put it in a book, because black people don't read. I actually started reading books on wealth, Millionaire Next Door. I started reading books about, Think and Grow Rich, things like that, along with my involvement in church, really taking a look at ancient wisdom, ancient texts of scripture, which, books of wisdom like Proverbs, and really taking a look at all of these things. And I've seen the correlation between some of the Think and Grow Rich books and the wealth books and finance books and the character building, personal development involved in, and also some businesses that I was involved in, particularly with network marketing. The principles correlated with the scriptures, with what was inside the books. There's like a certain narrative here, a certain message that wealthy people understand, successful people understand, and it's in the books. And so, when I say in the books, I'm talking about the ancient texts of scriptures, whether you read, I personally, have been a part of, you would call it the Christian faith. So it would be the Bible, but you can also get some of this wisdom from, different books, ancient texts, such as like the Quran and other things like that. So putting these things together and wanting to be wealthy, wanting to have the principles of personal development, and one of the main principles that really stuck out to me was responsibility, taking responsibility. I believe in Think and Grow Rich, it was saying that everything is your fault. If you take responsibility for whatever thing that you, whatever condition that you have, then you empower yourself. Whoever you blame, you take the power from yourself and you give the power to the other person. So this whole thing was going on back in 2010, 2011, 2012. Just applying these principles and reading. And with the Barack Obama era, there was just a lot of excitement, the first black president. And I remember just being so emotionally stirred with Obama's presidency for his first term, almost to the point where it was almost like pretty much out of my mind, just not even thinking about what the policies were, thinking about whatever principles were. I just saw Obama up there and I thought everybody else was racist, and I just wanted Obama to win. And when he won, I was so excited, and we went down, me and my best friend, we went to Oakland, because when that happened, there was all these not protests, but so much celebration going on in the streets of Oakland. And so I remember the night when he won the election, there was hundreds and hundreds of people in Oakland, and we just rolled down, we just celebrated, right? And I was thinking to myself afterwards, like, what exactly was I celebrating? Because after Obama's first term and nearing Obama's first term, this is when I really started diving into personal development, reading books, diving into the scriptures, and I found that all of the principles that attribute to a person's success were the opposite principles of the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party was a party of systems put in place that totally took out the independence, took out the principles, remove the principles, the morals of a person's personal development and success. And so that's when I started really doing research, really, investigating policies and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, after Obama's first term, you can see the results. I was paying attention to exactly the condition of black people as a whole and exactly what he was doing. And so, of course, everybody knows now that Obama really didn't do much for blacks at all, but he did a lot for the LGBTQ homosexual community, which is a dagger to the heart of black families, in addition to a whole lot of other systems that Barack Obama and the Democratic Party associate with and ensure that black people participate in. So anyway, fast forward to today. Today I am I won't call myself a Republican, but I identify with the Republican Party as far as the principle is concerned of independence, taking responsibility, and not participating inside of the systems that the Democrats put out that lead to vicious cycles of poverty, death, crime, destruction of families, and lack of moral character and principle that are associated with the Democratic Party. Now, going into all this other stuff, as far as why, and trying to explain to black men, especially, because black women, I don't have this discussion a lot with black women, because black women are very emotional, and so there's a lot of black men who are emotional too. I can have this conversation with, but I tend to, to focus on black men first, because I believe once you get black men in their position in everything, financially, personal responsibility, moral character, once you get black men in order, then you'll have more power inside of over the black woman and the children. Pretty much will fall in line. Okay, so not all the time. Okay, because we already know the statistics here. We know that how women, they're the ones who file for divorce. That's a whole nother thing. But it really has to start. Leadership has to start with the black men. And I think everybody would agree that, especially back in the day, 30s, 40s, and 50s, black men were the ones who really took care of their families. They led their families, and they led in a different way than a lot of parents are doing today. So studying and evolving with the scriptures, with the books, with the knowledge that led to my success in business, helped me to understand and realize the information that I'll be giving away today especially to black men, okay? And how important it is to leave the Democrat Party, and why that decision is much deeper than just a surface level, okay, I'm going to leave the Democrat Party and be a part of or associate myself with the racist Republican Party. I'm about to make a statement, a very important statement for every black male, okay, right now. All right. Racism, okay, first of all, it's not even a word that we should use. We should use hatred, because racism immediately creates a certain division, and it triggers a certain emotion in blacks that cause them to act irrationally. So let's just say hatred, okay? There's hatred everywhere, okay? On the Democrat side and the Republican side. They may hate you because of your race, but it's not really so much your race, it's a perception of your character that is hated. Because on either party, if you give the Republicans or benefit the Republicans one way, you'll be accepted. If you benefit the Democrats in one way, you'll be accepted. So it's more so character and what you can provide and what you can provide to whichever side. Okay? On both sides, you have what you would consider racism, that I'm going to say hatred. So but you use two different types of hatred, and one is more functional for us as black men, and one is far less functional for us, which means one side of the hatred works better for us than the other side. And I'm going to explain this. So you have two racist white people. They don't like you, okay? Or two people who hate you. They're white. They don't like you. One is on the Democrat side, one's on the Republican side, right? You have one racist white person who hates you, who comes to you and says, you know what? You know, I'm going to give you a house to live in. A little house to live in. I'm going to give you some food. I'm going to give you some water. Oh, you poor man. You know, they treated you so bad. They treat you so bad. And here's some water. Here's some food. Here's a home. Here's a shelter. Here's a blanket. Okay? And you say, but what comes with that blanket, they say, well, all you have to do for what we're going to give you is we have a plantation. You don't have to pay any rent. You don't have to pay pay for any food. We'll cover you on that. You don't even have to don't worry about your family. We'll take care of the kids and we take care of the wife. You could just kind of just float along and, do what you want to do, right? We'll do all of that. Don't worry about it. But you just have to live over here on the plantation on this side. There's some work we want you to do, some hard labor work that we have you do. But as long as you do your work, you won't have to pay for these things, right? As long as you participate inside of our system, that makes us wealthy. Some of these things of work are like, say, sports. You have to fight, to make like Chicken George. He went over and he made the white people money that way. So would you rather have this person who gives you food, water, and clothing and is nice to you, who don't like you, but they might even like you. If you participate, they may say, oh, we really do like you, but you have to participate in their system. Okay? You have to sign a contract that says, I won't make more than such and such amount of money on my own. Okay? If I do make so much amount of money, then I disqualify myself from these benefits. If I do have a full functioning family and I decide to be the head of my house, I don't qualify for this. Neither are they going to take care of my wife and kids, which means now I might have to really go out there and really stress myself to work. And more than likely, when I participate in this system, it is really to get rid of me or use me for slave labor, while they use my wife to do whatever they please with her, over-sexualize her, rape her, manipulate her, use her for their benefit, use her to make money. And your children, they raise up inside the system to repeat the cycle again. That's one form of hatred. There's that form where they give you stuff to entice you to participate inside their system. Then you have the other white person who hates you, who don't like you. But he says, you know what? I don't care about you. Don't come over here. Don't participate with my stuff. Do what you want to do. I'm not giving you nothing. You're not getting a house. You're not getting you're not getting no food. I'm not giving you no water. I want to do my thing. You do your own thing. Which hatred so much is more functional for a black person or a black male? Is it the one where someone is giving you benefits for you to participate in the system that continues to create certain habits for you, that you have to participate, you have to act a certain way, you have to look a certain way in order to receive the benefits? Or the one that leaves you by yourself to do whatever it is that you want to do, but they're not going to give you nothing? Which side is more beneficial to you? For me, the side that's more beneficial is the racist, or the one who hates me, who leaves me alone, says, get out of here, I don't want to see you, whatever, right? And leaves me by myself. to navigate my own life rather than me signing a contract to participate inside of a system. Because if I'm left alone, I'm not receiving any benefits. I am now inside of a place where I can use my creative, whatever that's inside of me, my creativeness, my ingenuity, and everything to build what I want. I build my own system. I build my own way, and I can have my family without being involved inside of a controlled environment where they control my wife, where they control my children. I can teach my children. I can create the curriculum. I can create the structure that I want without interference, right? But the good thing about the one who hates you on this side is that the people who are on this side of the races, you are beneficial to them. Say for instance, you by yourself, you decide to build a little house, you build 2 extra rooms, right? And inside of a house, right, that you have, and you decide to rent it out. And you're making money doing that. Well, you're paying taxes on that. Well, now, hey, look, this person is benefiting us. He's paying taxes. He's being responsible because he's working by the same principles that we have to work by. Everybody has to make it on their own on this side. So there's a level of respect that when you do practice those principles and you are successful, you have something now to relate to these people who may or may not like you. This is the reason why in the free North, where the Republican side didn't necessarily care for black people, but they allowed black people to buy their homes, to go to work, to do what they need to do. And that's why on that side you had so many black people who had businesses, owned hotels, owned shops, people don't understand the Tulsa, the Black Wall Street, it was bought by Republican black males. And the only reason why the Republican black males were able to amass a wealth that they did, because they were left alone to have the freedom to be able to start a business and do all those things that someone who was on the plantation couldn't dream of, because they were in a system where they were not able to be creative. And so those were Republicans who did that. And so anyway, what happened was the benefits that came along with, because as you know, in the 20s, that's when you had the Black Wall Street, you had the businesses booming and all that kind of stuff. You had the black millionaire woman, who sold the hair cream and all that kind of stuff. Those were Republican states, okay? Those were free North, free blacks, okay? Who owned, she was the first black woman millionaire back in the 20s. So those days were a result of created a lot of black wealth. You didn't have black wealth in the South, okay? Because you still had slavery and all that, Jim Crow and all that kind of stuff going on in the South. And so what happened was with the Great Depression, which I truly believe the Great Depression was a ploy. It was a mechanism to get slaves back. Okay, this is what I think it was. I believe it was set up because at the time when you had the roaring 20s and the early 30s, when the economy was booming, there was wealth going on, black people were getting wealthy, and they didn't even have the same rights as whites, but they were left alone to do what they wanted to do, right? They were in politics. They were in Republican politics back then. And so what happened was those were Republican presidents during those times of economic booms. I believe that the Depression was manufactured because black people have to understand this. After the Civil War and the abolishment of slavery by Abraham Lincoln and the Republican Party, by the way, the source of wealth and influence and power that the rulers in the South had was gone because they no longer had their slaves. They no longer had their slaves, but these people were not stupid, right? So there was this period where slaves were migrating out of the South. They were building businesses, owning hotels, owning hospitals. They were having lots of success. The black family was together. They were strong. And I'm telling you, black people were buying properties. That's why your great grandpa had land and you don't got land. How was that? And they made far less than black people today. So think about this for a moment. All the success, the South lost their slaves. They lost their source of income. Okay? After Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, he was taking his position, a Democrat took his place. And when that Democrat took his place, then they started institutionalized trying to get slavery back together, but they can never get their slaves back. Slavery was never going to be coming back. So they had to find a mechanism to get their slaves back, because the root cause of slave times, or the source of the wealth of the Democrat Party was slavery. It was labor, free labor, pretty much, and creating the system of slavery. So the Great Depression hit, which I believe was manufactured by a Democratic source, okay? And I can get deeper into the Jewish community, but that's a whole nother thing. They controlled the financial systems, got a hold to the financial structures, stocks and bonds and markets and all that. They controlled all that. It crashed. The Republican president at the time, the blame was put on him, of course. And as you know, as we all learned through COVID, okay, if there's some type of national or world epidemic, politically, that's bad for whoever the incumbent president is. And so this crash, which I believe, of course, the Democrats have become professionals with, creating crashes, so is Republicans, creating mischief on purpose in order to institute a system. So after the Great Depression, of course, now you had the election. And now you have a Democrat president who actually, I think he did 3 terms because of the Great Depression, who ushered in government dependency. Republican Party are the business party, right? Capitalist society, capitalist party, limited government party, right? The less limited, the less government is involved, we have more freedom to earn money and all that. And it was booming under that Republican rule. But now, this Great Depression has stopped all that in its tracks. And guess who's come to the rescue? A Democrat. He started inputting, bringing in government, food stamps, well, I would say benefits for food because people were struggling. And creating these government-backed jobs, infrastructures, and things to institute a big government. And this was for the white people, by the way, and blacks. So now the people started to get dependent upon government handouts. So hopefully the idea is to get the people economy back going again. Okay, so that was the Great Depression era, and when the ushering in of the Democrat system, slave system, creating big government. And here black people are, who are Republicans, and they inside the line along with white people in the line because they don't have any money, they're hungry, feed their families and all this other kind of stuff. And this money is being ramped up. And then now you have the World War, of course, and everything. More Democrat stuff going on, by the way. As you know, wars is a big thing under them because there's a lot of money that's made in wars. A whole lot of money that's been made with wars, okay? A lot of these wars are manufactured. Okay, a lot of these wars are instigated or created. They create the environment for the wars because of the money it pulls in. That's another video as well. But during the war, now you had more government jobs. So what was the government doing? The government doing, which is my granny came to California from Mississippi to take on jobs in California, because then the nurses were in high demand, was big. They were paying lots of money for black nurses up in the northern states and in California, which, by the way, California was a Republican state at the time, Republican state. So they had bringing good jobs up there where people were working. But you also had, because of the war, you had a lot of shipyards, naval shipyards, military shipyards, where blacks were making a lot of money. So a lot of blacks migrated from the South, migrated from the East over to California to work on the shipyards. Okay, after the war, okay, the war had happened and all that. Black people were getting used to these handouts, these government jobs, the government is doing all this, giving people all these benefits. Then you had, you had more black people going to voting Democrat, but the associating benefits and giveaways and handouts with the Democrat Party. Then, of course, you had the civil rights laws, Lyndon Johnson. Civil rights was a thing, because of course the Jim Crow laws and everything like that. There's civil rights laws that ushered in a whole nother form of government benefits for blacks. And so because of civil rights, which was the idea was good, but what it ushered into the black family was devastating. Because with civil rights, you had, integration, legal integration, though some places are already integrated, depending on where you're at. If you was in California, you was in some other northern states, you were already integrated. So we talk about integration in the southern states, okay? Because guess what? The people who fought for the civil rights, it was the Democrats Party who so-called was fighting for civil rights, were the ones themselves who instituted the Jim Crow laws that created the segregation. They already were segregated. So this is the same party who created the segregation, so-called now has been a pioneer of so-called desegregation through civil rights. But civil rights was just a label to get their slaves back. So if you're losing the war, you're losing your slaves. How do you get your slaves back? Well, they're not going to come back to the slave plantation. So what you have to do is, okay, well, it ain't working for us. Let's flip this script around here. And let's say we're going to fight for you to integrate back into our racist system. We're going to remove the whites only, remove the coloreds only, and we're going to reinstitute slavery inside of in a different way, in a legal way, right? In a more tricky way, which will be through the welfare system, which was one of the first devastations of the blacks. Creating a welfare system was literally creating the slave system, where it takes away, like as in slavery, it takes away your drive for success, takes away your drive of creativity, takes away responsibility. It takes away all this thing that's inside of the blacks of the North who created the Tulsa, who created Black Wall Street. It takes that away, right? And you pay a price. We're going to give you these benefits, but you have to sign a contract saying you don't make so much money. You're not going to make so much money. If you do, you have to report it, and you're going to lose the benefits. So it was bringing back slavery inside of a new form. And this is the reason why, after civil rights, so-called civil rights, the black families started becoming more devastated. The crime went up because you have, along with the civil rights, you had these new crime laws. These new crime laws were specifically designed, okay, to target getting their slaves back, because we all know with the prison system and the 13th Amendment, slavery is legal if you go to jail convicted of a crime. So this whole setup, and we're going to fast forward through the 80s, because the 80s is when you had the crack epidemic, the drug epidemic, where they were literally pouring in the drugs and prosecuting and locking folks up left and right for selling or using, trading, or whatever with these drugs that they put in. They were locking folks up over this drug epidemic, so-called war on drugs, when they could have eliminated drugs, but they were ones who were allowing it to come in. And this was creating the prison system. That's why you had more blacks going to prison at the time. So these systems were created by the Democratic Party in the name of emergency, in the name of, inequality, or a name of equality, to create these dependent systems that are destructive to the family, black families, to the black wealth, to the black creativity, to black ingenuity. Because even through segregation with Jim Crow, you had more blacks who were more successful because it was segregated. You had the creativity to do your own thing on your own. You didn't have to participate inside of their system because they didn't want you in the system. But now they want you inside the system now because they've created a new system that keeps you enslaved. So now fast forward through the 80s, through the 90s. The 90s those were the crime laws built by Bill Clinton, Joe Biden, and the Democrats put in the 3 strikes laws, mandatory minimums, all those things to further eradicate or get more black slaves, kill more blacks, and create this vicious cycle of crime within the communities and drugs within Democrat-ran communities, which 30 of the top most dangerous cities in America are ran by black Democrats. Okay? Democrats, this is where it's gotten to, folks. So the 90s brought in the drugs and crime increase. Now you're going to skip up to the 2000s. And now you had Kamala Harris, who through all the 2000s, she was one who was participating in those crime. She was a prosecutor. She was an accuser. She was the one who said, you need to be punished and we're going to punish you to the fullest extent of the law. And your defender was the one who was saying, no, let's help him out. Let's give him another chance. Let's minimize it. The prosecutor was like, no, we want him to have the maximum. This is Kamala Harris. She's participating inside of this system. And of course, Barack Obama brought in the LGBTQ, which is a destruction of the black family. Then on top of that, the food industries and the public school systems. These are all systems that are created by liberal Democrat slave systems. If you do your research, you know Kamala Harris is a participant in that, which is she's, even if you want to go deeper, it's a whole other conversation with the Jewish community she's married to and see who her daughters-in-laws are. She's involved with that system. Okay, and it pays billions and billions and billions of dollars between the prison industry, the welfare industry, the drug industry, the healthcare, all that food, drug administration, billions and billions of dollars, and the wars, of course, which is why you all of a sudden have 3 wars going on under Biden. Those things pay billions of dollars. So all of these things compounded on each other is devastation to the black people. So I would rather, be on the side of the Republican side where we don't need those systems. We don't want those systems. We want you as a black man to be creative, to have no limits, no one putting the caps on how much you can make, no one putting in traps for you, and egg you on and with entertainment and with the entertainment industry, trying to tantalize your taste buds, trying to give you pleasure and everything to participate inside the system. I don't want none of that. I want the ones who don't care. Just go over there. Let me create my path, create my wealth without these traps and without me signing a contract for me to participate inside of your slave system. So, black men, I'm just giving you some insight, okay, on the principle and on the, if you take assessment of your situation, your family situation, your cousin Bubblegum situation and all that, and see how they think politically. A bell should ring inside of you. And if you dare to open up a book and read the books that wealthy people are reading, you read the books that successful people are reading, and you find that internal purpose within yourself as a man to have the freedom to think and to move without all of these, here you go, here, all these advertisements trying to pull you into their system, where then you are now your own advertisement, your children are your own employees, your wife and everybody, you're on your own land, and you have your own system. Because even black professional Democrats who are working corporate jobs are inside of a different type of system, where they spend their entire lives benefiting another person, their wives spending their entire lives benefiting a corporation or a company. And what do you have at the end except for a retirement? So, which is a good thing, but every man, I believe, should have their own place, their own business, their own thing, independent, their own system for their family. And so that's why I have come to, this is years of evolvement. This has not just happened overnight. This is involvement of reading, paying attention, looking in depth. The top 30 most dangerous cities for black people. Most murders, most crimes are ran by Democrats. And those mayors are black Democrats. The 2 biggest cities in the United States are ran by black Democrats. 2 biggest cities. So you can't say, injustice or inequality or any of those things. They run in the systems, but they have to participate inside of this system in order to stay in those, because the second a black Democrat in one of those cities say the wrong thing, guess what? He's out of there. So this is why in some words, in the 30 minutes, however long I've been talking, is a synopsis, or just in general, how I navigated to err to the Republican side. Neither party, you shouldn't require anybody to like you, or to fall in love with you, or to prefer you. You don't need that. You don't need benefits. You don't need handouts. You don't need all these systems. You need your individual creativity, your brain, to exercise your own brain, to get out the dang entertainment. Get out of the entertainment. Get out of the hallucinations and the imaginations and the big cars and over-sexualization of females. You need to get out of that space and get into a space where your creativity as a man, your seeds of creativity, your life, and where you put the structure together, your own system together. And you cannot do that on a slave plantation. So anyway, it's just an encouragement to black men to take a look of what type of black person, such as myself, who grew up in a liberal Democrat environment, can open their eyes, read the right books, get on the right principles, the right train of thought, to be independent, an independent thinker, and spiritual inside a sense where you are using your God-given talents and your abilities to your God-like characteristics, where what I speak is what is created, not what someone else speaks And and for me to be dependent on someone else, whether it's inside the prison system where they tell me when I can shower, when I can't shower, whether it's being influenced by the media and entertainment industry, a rapper trying to tell me that I need this and that to get this fine female, or my family being influenced by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion to be over sexualized, or being influenced by Obama era LGBTQ to exercise behaviors that are not productive for my family. So every black man has to make a choice to have the courage to stand up and say, we reject these systems over our families. And no matter how much hell you might have to take, because other people have been or are still inside of a place of being brainwashed and still inside of a place of being emotional, you yourself have to make the decision. And it might take 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 years for other people to come along to see, hey, there is something to what he's talking about. Because if you had talked to me back in 2008, you wouldn't have got this person. It took years. But if you pay attention, you will see the Democratic Party is a slave system. Doesn't matter how many black faces it puts as mayors, as presidents, or whatever. It is a system. And there were black slaves who wanted to be on a slave plantation. There were black slaves who were having success on a slave plantation, who had positions of power. But their positions of power were always to influence the masses to participate in the slave system, which means they may have it good for a moment. Michael Jackson had it good for a moment until they killed him. These black people have it for a moment. All the entertainers you know, all the sports figures you know, outside of the ones who stay quiet, like Michael Jordan. If Michael Jordan came out today and said the wrong thing, he would get canceled, and they would take every single penny that they gave him, like they did Bill Cosby. So the quiet ones, if people start talking too much, they'll take your wealth from you because they are the ones who gave it to them. Stop being influenced by sports, by blacks fighting against each other, sports beating each other up. Because the sports industry is another video. So anyway, I'm encouraging all black men to think deeper, and especially during this election time, because it is our opportunity under a Trump administration. I'm not saying Trump is going to like you. Don't stop tripping about a white person liking you or trying to give you something. Okay? Under the Trump administration, you have far more opportunities to guide your families and be the man that you need to be and get out of this damn dependent, feminine energy situation over here at the Democrats are offering. So anyway, hope everybody has a good day, and like, comment, subscribe, because I got a lot to talk about, and I'm going to talk about all of it coming up. Thanks. Peace and love. Shalom.